Welcome to the Coparenting Chronicles. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Jenna.
And this is a podcast about something we didn't exactly plan on becoming experts in.
But definitely learned the hard way, co-parenting.
We're not therapists. We're not lawyers. Well, Jenna actually is, but we'll get to that later. We definitely don't have it all figured out.
What we are is two parents who decided that even though our relationship isn't common, our commitment to raising healthy and happy kids is.
We'll talk about growth and boundaries, respect, and what it actually looks like to build a functional co-parenting relationship, even when it's hard.
Some episodes will be just us, having honest conversations we wish we'd heard earlier.
And others may include experts, real-life stories, our partners, and practical tools that you can actually use.
Whether you're newly separated, years into co-parenting, or supporting someone who is, this space is for you.
Because co-parenting isn't about being perfect.
It's about being intentional.
And choosing your kids, even on the hard days.
Thanks for being here, the sitcom that nobody asked for.
All right, we're fucking back, bitches.
So, if you grew up in the 90s and your parents didn't know where you were, and honestly, they were fine with that, right?
So true.
You know, we were raised one way and now we're parenting our kids in a totally different world. And I think that we wanted to do this episode so that we can kind of acknowledge those generational shifts. And, you know, it's not really like what we were doing was bad or what our parents was doing was bad. It was like they were doing what was normal at that time.
I mean, maybe that's why things were a simpler time, though.
Right. Like, I really appreciate the way that I was raised and brought up. And I mean, I love the 90s. I wish that we could go back to the 90s every day. I wish that I had bought property in the 90s. And
I wish I had not been a child in the 90s. I wish I was an adult in the 90s.
Same. Like, you know, so it's just definitely a different world. And I think we kind of wanted to highlight those differences in this episode and kind of just have some laughs and nostalgia and
yeah, definitely. I mean, well, Jenna and I were both children of the 90s. And I think it's trending because, like I had just previously said, it did feel simpler. It felt happier.
Yes.
And maybe that's just because we were oblivious, right? Because we didn't have social media. We didn't have a little computer in our hands at all times telling us how unhappy we are. You just kind of had to accept what things for what they were. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think the freedom of not having that technology was really kind of special. I feel we kind of grew up in that like last generation before it hit.
We were the last and the first. You know what I mean? Like we were
exactly.
the first generation that had, as children, we started to get social media. When did you get a MySpace? Middle school, right?
I got a MySpace in 8th grade. Mm-hmm. I wasn't allowed one, but of course I made one.
We had a secret one. Yeah.
But I didn't have internet yet. So I would just go to my friend Morgan's house and
what was it you were?
Probably something embarrassing about a boy. I was just thinking about this the other night. I shit you not. I was like, what was that boy's name? This boy I met on MySpace, you know, and we would do the little signs. Heart, Will, and Will. I was, oh my God, his name was Will. I don't know how the fuck I was thinking, what's he up to? What do you think that is going on with Will?
But like also that all of us were like coding. Like all of us knew how to like code.
Yes, how to code for your MySpace profile and everything.
You couldn't pay me to know a code now, but I was doing it.
Yeah, I remember the and hearts with the not the colon, semicolon.
What was the ones I had like I had like the less than symbol with a 3. So it was like a love. Yes. Mine was he's my heartthrob. Like for what? What does that even mean? Stupid, embarrassing.
Interesting time.
Yeah. Sorry, we went off on a little rant again. Surprise. Yeah. So I feel like let's just kind of set the stage for what parenting would have felt like. And I think that we can't obviously talk directly about what it felt like as a parent because we were children. Right. I mean, I remember not having supervision like our kids have. I think that was a big one.
Yeah. My mom was a single mom. She worked till 7:00 at night and I was a latchkey kid.
Yep.
If I forgot my key to the house, then I could use my student ID or credit card. I didn't have a credit card, but my neighbor, I lived at my neighbor's house basically, but I would just swipe that in the back door and like into my house.
But I had a key too. I mean, my parents were divorced and was putting herself through college to get her bachelor's degree, and she was a waitress, and my dad, you know, he worked. And so I remember having to walk across. I went to a Catholic school in Lake Geneva, and Highway 50 was like that big street going down
Yeah.
going into Main Street, Lake Geneva. And I went to a Catholic school, and I would have to cross Highway 50 to my dad's condo. And then I would let myself in. I would make myself a snack. And
Yeah.
then I would walk all the way to downtown Lake Geneva to dance class and then walk home. And I'm like, that's crazy. I would never
And you have
let
no cell phone.
I was in
Like-
I was in 3rd grade. I
Yeah.
was 9 years old.
Yeah,
That's
I would
Ava.
walk to
That's
school
Ava's
and walk
age.
home. Like,
Mind you, do I think
Oh.
Ava's responsible enough to do that? I wouldn't trust Cora to do it.
oh God.
But I think it does depend on the kid for us in
Right.
this parenting age to like, how much supervision does that child need? I think it's a case by case, child by child basis. But that wasn't how it was in the 90s.
Right.
Everyone was like us in the
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah, it wasn't like rare that,
We took the city bus.
I mean, when I was 9 years old, I was already my next door neighbor. They're like my second family, and their oldest daughter was a year younger than me. So we became best friends. And then they ended up having 2 other kids. And when I was 9 and 10, and they also had an in-home daycare. So I grew up raising children.
Raising children.
I was a child raising children. I loved it. We were pushing triple strollers. I had like a baby strapped here to the back because she would have like 12 kids a day, and like 3 newborns and a bunch of toddlers. Like they were all under 6.
But I think
like,
everyone did at-home daycare. I mean,
Yeah, it was
I grew up at at-home daycares, like when I was little enough. Like, I don't think that like daycare facilities were like nearly, I mean, maybe quote me if I'm wrong. We'd have to
I
ask one
don't
of our
know.
parents.
I
But like,
didn't ever have to go because I would go to my grandma's when I was younger.
Yeah.
Young. But then when I was like 8 or 9, I started, and Jess, my next door neighbor, became my best friend. It was like, didn't really make sense because I could just walk to school and walk home with
Right.
her.
But do
And-
you think, okay, so here's a good question. Do you think that we had more at-home daycares at that time point because we relied more heavily on our neighbors? Like, I don't talk to my neighbors. I don't do
Probably.
things for my
Oh,
neighbors. Like,
If I see my neighbors outside, I usually try to go out the back door so I can avoid seeing them. And they're perfectly nice. I don't want to talk to them.
we're
Like,
lucky to
if I had a
have
special
one
one,
good,
right.
we actually are pretty close with our neighbor, and she's a cleaning
Yes.
lady, and she cleans for both Jenna and
Yeah.
I, actually. We share her. Shout out Destiny. We
Love you.
But like everyone else we don't talk to, like across the street, kitty corner on both sides, the other side, like we don't talk. Like, whereas I feel like I grew up and my grandparents had block parties, and my grandparents know all their neighbors. I know them because they're my grandparents' neighbors. Like
Right.
they were invited. Some of our neighbors were invited. My parents' neighbors were invited to my wedding, and so I just think it's like, okay, that is also
Different.
the sense of community, and how as parents at that time, I think we really did. You had to lean on each other, and I think that was
Yeah.
normal. It wasn't
I
even.
agree. Yep. Yeah, it was not really something that people thought about, I feel, at the time. It was just the natural way of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as like kids, I think coming home when the streetlights come on, like that, we
Yeah.
were the last generation to have that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was truly a thing. Like,
It really
come
was.
home
I
when
know
the
that's like
streetlights come on.
cliche to say,
No,
like that's
but
what
I
like everybody
loved
hears
it.
nowadays, but it's the truth.
Our
It was,
neighborhood would be running around playing kick the can,
yeah,
ghost in the
that's
graveyard.
when you know it's
like,
time to come in.
yeah,
Like,
be
it's
home.
time for dinner,
Be home, which is also wild to me too. I think that we eat early because I have to go to work at night usually.
Yeah.
But like, we really didn't have dinner until like late.
I guess I don't even know. I honestly, my mom never like made a dinner every night. Like we just didn't have
Girl dinner.
We were
single mom and a
yeah,
daughter.
I was hamburger helper, but usually I would be making dinner so that because she didn't go home till 7.
Yeah.
So like
love hamburger helper, and
I
now
fuck
Ava
with
loves
hamburger
it. Oh,
helper
so hard. It's so good. Ava loves
so
it now
good.
too. I don't think the other kids love it nearly as much as Ava does. It's
And
like
it's so
a
easy to
staple in our
make.
house. I'm sorry because I do work at nights, and my husband is not a great cook. There's minimal things that man can make. God love him, but cooking is not a quality of his, and so hamburger helper is easy.
Yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
dinner in a box is typical 90s
Yeah.
single parenting meal.
Yeah, it was good. It was easy, and that was it. Honestly, you know what else we really liked as like a dessert? We liked those. I don't even know if they make them anymore, like what they're called, but they're like those pies, like the crusted pie, and they kind of like that. icing over them, and they're like apple, cherry.
It was like a glaze.
Yeah,
on
like a
top, and they came in a
glaze.
box.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah,
Or it was like
they
a
came in a box
turnover.
or like a bag, like
Yeah, but it was like
gas.
almost.
You can get
It
them
was
from a
almost
gas
like
station,
a.
but
It almost felt like a paper bag, not a plastic bag.
yes, it was papery.
Yeah, those little
Yes.
apple turnovers.
Yeah,
All right,
yes,
cool.
like turnover. Yeah, and you could put them in the freezer, and they were really good cold. We would get milk in a bag.
You could tell
From
in a bag, milk in a bag. You could tell Jenna's pregnant right
generic
now.
cereal.
She's like, oh, I could eat a turnover right now.
Oh my god, they were so good. And they if they still have them now, they're probably shit. They're probably nowhere near as good.
I think another really good nostalgic memory and just, a difference in parenting was like the minimal communication. I think that you and I as parents are still, we have the same opinion on technology with our children.
Yeah.
We don't want them to be behind. We obviously know that their peers are going to have iPads and things like that. But I think as far as, I don't know, we haven't really had the talk yet because I think I personally don't feel like our 9-year-old should have a phone.
I don't think.
I don't
they
think she
need
has no reason. You and I have talked about getting home phones.
Yeah, I mean,
because-
it's actually a thing. Andy's
Yeah.
already looked into it. I would like to get
Truly.
a landline. It kind of sucks because you can't get like a hardwired landline anymore.
You can get a Wi-Fi one.
But it's a Wi-Fi one,
Yeah.
so as long as your Wi-Fi is working, at least it'll work.
I think you can get a hardwire one, can't you?
I've looked. It's
probably
I've
so
like done-
expensive.
it's like really because it's like they are getting rid of all those lines now. They physically don't exist pretty much anymore.
They literally just want us to be so reliant on a grid. Like,
Which is fucking insanity because think
Mhm.
of what would happen if they just like if somebody just took out our whole power grid and we didn't have power
Yeah.
for
be screwed.
days on end.
I mean, I think, but not having also like maybe just
Yeah.
minimal communication throughout the day.
Yeah, I don't
also,
know
but
now.
I think that was
feel
good
like
though.
A lot of people have contact with their kids. Like we have friends that are teachers who just told me a story where they reprimanded a kid for doing something wrong, and then 2 seconds later, her classroom phone is ringing, and it's that parent.
Mhm.
How can teachers do their jobs if they have, and your kid? How can teachers do their jobs, and how can your children learn if they're on their phone immediately, like texting their parents about what just happened at school? I just don't think it's necessary. I think that
Well, just with anybody, not even just as a parent, but I don't think it's necessary for us to have access to somebody at all times at a day. What do you talk about? If you've been texting your partner nonstop all
Yeah.
freaking day, which I don't know, I'm just not that kind of person anyway. Anthony, my husband, is very old school in that way, like where he has 100 text messages and it gives me complete anxiety.
Andy doesn't respond to my texts. I
But, like,
probably
he'll
look like a
call.
crazy. I probably
He'll
look
call.
because I'll like text him my thoughts throughout the day,
Yes.
like, oh, we have to do this, or we need to
That's
get
more
this
like
from
a
the store.
memory or like a
Yeah,
to
like,
remember.
oh, here are the dates that you need to make sure you're not working.
Right.
And it really is like for me, but also for him, but he doesn't read my messages anyway. So I don't know why I bother. But if I were sitting on an airplane and someone were sat behind me and I were to open up our thread, they would be like, oh, that guy's getting yelled at. But really it would be
Grocery list.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't forget, River has swim class.
He just never responds.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ava has swimming at 5 today. Don't forget, I won't be home in time, so you have to take all the kids with you. Like,
But also it's like, so like I do that to Anthony as well, but then he'll get a message from me and then he'll just call me. And then I get annoyed because I'm like, well, why didn't you just respond?
right.
And just now he's calling me. I don't want to talk for 15 minutes, and but then, so then I get mad at him. I think as far as parenting, like, I think you had to check in when you had to check in. Also,
Yeah.
but I think it also kind of shows you that I think we were around our parents more. If you know what I'm saying, like as far as like, I remember like we didn't do as much. Like we didn't have to have these like constant activities for our children to be in. I mean, I was involved in
Yeah.
a couple things, but it was
Mhm.
mostly when I got to the age that it was involved with school, because then I would just stay at that practice after school. My core memories of being like younger, like I don't remember doing a crazy amount of activities where I feel like now we're just shoving our kids and booking their schedules until like, so they
Right.
have no form of childhood whatsoever. Every minute
Right.
of your life is booked,
I know. It's like, yeah. And I mean, I feel like it's kind of different how kids leading into that, how kids fill their time for,
Mhm.
what we were doing after school. I was jumping on my trampoline, going for bike rides, like, cause I was allowed to get on my bike and ride around. I panic when the girls,
Mhm.
like the girls,
Or like down the block.
yeah, we allow them to go around the block because they have a friend that lives across the street from us, and then across the street, a block down.
Yeah. I was terrified.
They're outside
when you
kids
told
all
me
the
that they
time.
were-
Yeah,
But I'm like, wait, that.
but that's completely, it is. But you worry the second they're out of your sight,
I think it's
right?
because we have so much access to information. Like you were talking about this earlier with me. It's like, is the world a bad place, or are we just highlighting the bad people and it makes us more scared? Are our children more sheltered now? Because,
Well, yeah, I mean, they definitely are.
I was riding
because
my bike down all the way downtown to go jump off the freaking pier, and my parents had no knowledge.
And I don't think my argument would be that, we say things like, oh, it was a different world back then. It was a different time. Like, it really wasn't a different world.
No.
The world, the
world
horrible
was-
things that were going on
They were still going on.
in the world are different than what they are now. Maybe some things are still very much the same, obviously, but it's
always been the same crisis. There's always war. There's always bad people. The same things are constantly happening.
They're still happening.
We've always
they
been a
just
dumpster
weren't
fire.
as, we didn't have our phones to tell us all of these horrible
we
things.
didn't know.
We didn't have all these crazy, wild documentaries on true crime and, the podcasts on true crime and
But when you
all
were
these stories that you hear about.
When you were talking about filling your time and you were saying you were jumping on a trampoline, you were riding your bike, like I think that was a better part about parenting is that we allowed our children to be bored.
Yeah.
They had to use their imaginations.
Yeah, there was no, our technology in our house, if my mom decided not to cancel cable, because she would be like, nope, they jacked up the price. She'd call and cancel so that a month later they would be like, oh, here, you can get HBO, Showtime, and throw the whole, to come back.
So calling your mom.
Yeah, my uncle, her older brother, called it child abuse. He would call and be like, oh, Frosty the Snowman is on. And my mom would be like, we don't have cable, but we have it on VHS. He's like, that's child abuse.
Can you imagine that?
But we would do mother-daughter nights on Monday nights. We would play games, Scrabble, Sorry.
But that's so good. And I think that because we have those core memories or you have those core memories, I do think that gives us a difference in the way that we parent our children, because I don't let our kids be on their iPads for 8 hours of the day. I truly don't. We have time limits on them. Yeah. I can tell when, Cora especially, I can tell when she's on it too much because she gets so emotional and just acts like she just needs a nap. She gets sassy. She
also gets very Ava can put her iPad down.
Oh yeah, and Ava will go and read a book, or she wants to play games. She gets bored with it.
She gets bored with it. But Cora will I had to yell after we had the time change last week. It tricked them, I think, that they didn't really believe that it was the time that it was because it's still dark out in the morning. And so they were awake. I checked that they were awake because they have an alarm. They get up in the morning, they get ready themselves, but they weren't coming out of their room. So I go in the room and I'm immediately try to hide the iPad. I'm like, what are you doing? No iPads before school. Absolutely not.
No, you don't even have the TV on before school. And that's how I know they're sneaky, because they know that for our house. I don't even allow the TV on.
And then of course I was getting dressed. I'm like, don't lie to me, girl. I was like, no more iPads, and no more iPads the last hour before bed. I don't care, because it's not good for them to be watching an iPad this close to their face right before bed. You know what I mean?
I'm
it's
happy
perfectly
you said
fine
that,
if you want
because
to
they tell me all the time, well, we get to do it at Daddy's house. I'm like, no, you don't. I'm like, don't lie to me.
No. Andy is really good too. He yells a lot at Cora, especially because he's like, these stupid iPads, because he gets angry about it as well, because he's like, what are you doing? No more iPad. I don't know. I think that's a normal thing nowadays. That's right. I mean,
it should be.
I think it's completely normal that parents have this they have this war with their kids. Maybe not all, but sometimes they have this war with their children about technology and taking the iPad away, and that could be a form of punishment now, right? Whereas for us, what did we get punished with? When we were grounded, it was we couldn't hang out with our friends.
Yeah.
Whereas now,
kids don't hang out anymore.
No.
Our neighborhood is filled with kids. I don't see them out in the streets playing basketball.
Yeah,
we used to, my brothers would pull the basketball hoop out from our driveway and put it in the middle of the street. And then when a car came, you yelled. They had little skateboard ramps that they would pull out in the middle of the street. Their kids aren't just playing anymore. I mean, even Vinny is in high school, and they're not doing things and so I don't know, they literally are all just glued to a screen. And I'm sorry, I try not to be judgmental when it comes to other people's parenting styles, but I'm sorry. I think I think you're messing up. I think we're raising a generation of people that don't know. I mean, kids don't even know how to have conversations. They don't know how to look you in the eye. They don't even know how to fucking tell time on an actual clock. there's things now that you have to step in as a parent, regardless if it's been what's deemed as normal.
Yeah.
Why are we raising a generation of children that are just staring at screens? We're not going to have any artists anymore. We're not going to have any writers. We're not going to have anything because you had to be bored as a child to figure out that you were good at those things.
Yeah. And that's why it's like, okay, screen time, no TVs, no iPads, like get out the coloring book. And that's like the one thing too that Andy's always been really good at is having plenty of stuff for the girls to do arts and crafts.
For sure.
Because they love to do arts and crafts. They have each have their own easel. We'll get them new canvases and they have their own little painting supplies. But
Jenna, I think that's what separates like you and Andy as parents from like other people, because it's hard to be a good parent. It's hard to have to sit down and look away from your own damn phone.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. And that's the argument that a lot of people have. It's like, oh, well, we have our phones glued to our hip. And I feel so guilty about that. Like I hate when I feel like I'm like just death scrolling like for no reason. I'm not on my phone for any reason and I want to get off of it, but like you're just like, like brain rot.
Since we started our podcast, I have noticed that I am not on my phone anymore unless it's related to like what we're doing.
Yeah, what we're doing.
It's honestly helped me a ton because I would just doom scroll on TikTok, and now I'm just like, no, like unless it's relevant, unless you're making me money, I don't need to be on social media. Like, and it's true. Like that's for my other business as well. Like as a hairstylist, like unless I'm making a post for a client, unless I'm answering a client message,
I barely ever go on my own personal Instagram now. I'm only ever on Coparenting Chronicles.
No, if you're not making me money, I don't want to see you on social media. So sorry.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. Like, it's just.
Do you think that it was? I mean, I always think about how scary it would have been to not know where your kids are. And I always asked but I think it was because that was normal then. Everyone was doing that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know my mom was like very overprotective in that way. Like, she worried a lot. Like, I needed to check in the summertime. When I would just have free reign, she's going to work 50 minutes away.
That's how far she was? I thought she was still in town. I didn't realize
in Libertyville. So she's going to work 50 minutes away.
And she just had to do it. That's how she provided for you. Like, what choice did she have?
Exactly. Yeah. And so I would just be at home and we'd go to the skate park. She didn't want me going to the skate park. It was quite far. Like it's not really that far, but it's like 2 miles, I guess. So we're riding our bikes or walking to the skate park. And then from there, we're going to the lake and jumping off the pier. And my mom, which is even further, like a 3-mile walk from where my mom lives. And like, Lake Michigan, many people have died jumping off that pier just here in Kenosha. The undercurrent is really bad. And
I am happy that that's not a thing anymore. Like kids really aren't jumping off the pier anymore. And I'm like actually kind of happy about that.
They
because
actually
it's
have
terrifying.
they actually have like those life-saving buoys and stuff that you can throw off there. They were not there when we were kids.
I think just not having GPS trackers attached to our kids. And I'm sorry, like I'm grateful for that, especially because we do co-parent. I like knowing where Jude is when he can't be with me.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good, I think that's just like one of those things, one of those positive things that technology has brought us. Because
for sure.
Because even though
I feel bad for them, you're never gonna get away with shit.
Yeah, right.
Good luck sneaking out of your house like I was at 15 years old and going to parties. Like I'll fucking find your ass.
Exactly.
Unless they just leave their phone. They never would because they're so glued to them.
Right.
I think
it's just one of those things where I think that our parents worried, but they allowed it to happen because I think that it fosters independence and allows your kids, it's good for your kids to be able to go and play with their friends and experience things. And I think that was another big thing. When I say play with your friends, it's like, it depended on who I was with, on how overly concerned my mom would be. Like if I were with my closest best friends that I was, and there were 3 or 4 of us, she worried a lot less. Not if I went to the lake and was jumping off the pier, because obviously that's a whole different ballpark. There's not really, but if we were in like
safety
a big
and
group,
numbers,
yeah.
for sure.
And if I were with my boy, like all my cousins are boys, if I were with Keegan or Frankie, she didn't worry at all. Right. She would be like, I could be out way later if I was like with Keegan doing stuff at night, because it was like, oh, you're with your cousins, and
they're not gonna let anything bad happen to you.
Yeah, right. So she just felt a lot more a lot safer.
I mean, I
when
think that
was with
I think that we
them.
still feel like that now as parents. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like it's definitely situational. You know, even when we've talked in previous episodes about sleepovers and stuff, like
Yeah.
it's
Yes,
situational. Like it's
exactly.
not, you know.
Yeah, because I mean, I think as parents, we haven't gotten to this point yet because our kids are still so young. I mean, maybe you have with Jude or Vinny, but sometimes they're definitely gonna befriend somebody who's like
They're also
not the
just
greatest kid, or
I
maybe it's not
know.
the kid, it might be their home life or how they were brought up, right? We don't really know, but somebody who's like maybe not the best influence, right? And I
Right.
think that, or maybe who's not even about influence, but just not nice and not a nice kid, right?
Yeah.
Not respectful. And I think if my kid were like, oh, I'm going to go just with this person somewhere, and I was unfamiliar with that place, and I also didn't like that kid. I don't want to say like I don't like kids because obviously this hasn't happened yet, but I just can
I don't give a
foresee
shit. Some little kids are assholes.
foresee like, some little shithead like, and
There's people that I've stopped being friends with in my adult life as I've become a parent because I've been like, dude, you're kids, which means that like they're an extension of you, bro. Like, so I don't know what you're doing. You're not parenting right. Like,
and obviously
and
they're
I don't
not going
think
to be
that's
perfect,
and that hasn't
right?
changed from the 90s. I
Yeah.
think those were also hopes and things that people wanted at that
Everybody
time. But
wanted that for their kids.
I just think that
Everybody
it's, you know, because of the lack of communication that we didn't have like strapped to our, you know, we didn't have a phone attached to us
Yeah.
at all times. Like you really did just have to check in. Or I remember there was times where like I needed to get a hold of my
We were
parents.
definitely uglier.
We were, I don't know, man. I think our style was on point. It's
I mean,
clearly
it
come back
definitely
around,
was. Our style, yes, but like,
but I mean, haven't you even seen that trending though now? How everyone is like talking about iPhone face and how no, like everyone looks the same now, and it's creepy, and there's no one who's like unique, and like
no, I
people,
haven't
everyone,
seen that.
it's this trending thing right now that everyone's talking about how because everyone
Makes
gets
sense.
filler, everyone does their makeup the same, everyone does the same hair extensions, they have the
Yeah.
same dental veneers that they're getting, is that people are all starting to look the same. They have iPhone face, and we miss these nostalgic actors who looked different and their
Who
teeth were
just,
messed up and they were crooked and they
yeah,
all
look
had different
natural. Well,
hair
that's how I
and
feel. That's how you feel about
they were just people.
reality TV too. Like even just reality TV now, everybody when they come on is an influencer. Whereas
Right.
if you go back to reality TV in the 90s or even the 2000s, like I mean, come on, Rock of Love, Bret
Yeah.
Michaels. Have
Yeah.
you seen those women? I mean, they were like LA dolled up, had like fake boobs, but like they were not. I don't want to say they weren't good looking. They just weren't like, oh my God, so hot, so perfect
Right.
looking. You know what I mean? They just looked like normal people. It was, I don't know. It was just really, I miss that. I miss that.
I mean, I think that
time.
kind of leads into a big, like a good talking point though about like screens and entertainment and how that's changed. How, you know, I think that, you know, we kind of touch base on like how we have screen limits
Yep.
and how we have like ratings for different content and stuff like that. But I don't
Right.
think that we were like Anthony and I were just talking about this. My husband and I we were talking about like podcasts, how that would have never been a thing. Like now with how like, woke everything
Yeah.
is and just like woke culture and
Everybody's
also
so
just, like,
hypersensitive.
everyone is so
about-
sensitive. And we truly were the last good generation of like I got even just like movies. I'm like, this is freaking hysterical. And I think that I do see a shift. I think people are kind of
Movies,
over it.
music,
Yes.
like just you hear it, like you're like, oh, they would never put that in a song now, you know? And it's
Yeah.
like, and we didn't think, I don't know.
Our parents, my parents, I don't
feel
know about
like-
your parents, but my parents didn't, they weren't checking. I remember, nope, I take that back. I remember my mom was so against us getting the new Eminem album because that had a different rating. It was the first time, not the first time, but it was in my childhood. It was the first time that she was like, that's got a bad rating on it.
Because
like
you have to have the parental advisory,
yes,
but you could get it without or whatever.
Yes, and so it was a
The
huge
E-version.
deal. My brother Danny was like old. My parents said I was old enough for him to get it, but not for me and Josh to listen to it. And it's like, the second you leave the house, we're listening to that shit.
Oh
like,
my-
but it was just, you know, I think we were like a little bit less unsupervised. Like 90s parents didn't supervise or monitor what we were watching.
Oh my God, my
I was
mom
watching
didn't care
Maury
though.
in the morning.
Yeah, Maury, Jerry Springer.
Gosh, what was that? That
We would
radio
watch that
show. Do you
talk
remember?
sex show with that old lady at night. She would come on at like 2:00 in the morning, and she'd have like, I don't know, like a dildo and like show like people, you know, she'd be like, because people would call her and this old grandma would answer their questions. Like, oh, I'm having this problem. She was like
there was a radio host, Delilah. Do you remember Delilah? She had really sultry soothing voice on the radio, and it was the same thing. And so I remember like driving home from my first job at Piggly Wiggly, And I would like listen to it on the way home, and I was like, I should not be listening to this, but obviously I'm 16. You know, what do I know?
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, and that's the thing, right? My mom didn't, there was never anything that I wasn't like allowed to watch.
Right.
That my mom would be like, "Come watch this movie with me." Rated R movies. Growing up, one of my favorite movies was Valley Girl, and I
Loved.
probably since like I was 3 or 4, and I know that sounds really young, but like I'm not even kidding. Like I would be like, I wish I could phone in my mom
I
right
didn't
now.
even
Like
watch it,
my
but watch it.
all-time faves. Like my mom just let me. Well, in music too, like I was nervous when I first got the Eminem LP. I burned it from a friend and I labeled it like now 10X, like not, you know? And I was like nervous that my mom was going to be upset. But then I
mean,
just
listen to the
started
shit that our
listening
parents
to
were
it.
listening.
Yeah. Well, my mom loved Eminem.
Yeah.
So she was like, oh, I don't care. Because
Yeah.
she loved him. And
Right.
that's how she's always been with music. If she likes the person or if she likes the movie, then it's like, yes, you can watch it. She didn't like Matilda. Like she always refused to allow me to own Matilda,
Matilda's annoying.
which I really hated because she hated Miss Trenchbulls. She was like, that bitch.
So
Absolutely not. Like, she was like, I fucking hate her.
I think a good talking point is about how the difference between like we had commercials. That was what would make us want things like toys, reels, and movies that were going to be coming out, different things that were
CDs.
going on. Exactly. Oh, I remember like falling asleep and then you wake up with the TV back on and it's like
All the infomercials.
20 best love songs of the 70s.
She's a brick.
Yes.
Oh, and it just has all the names of the songs and the artists scrolling up the TV.
But it's like there is a shift though, because it's like, okay, I'm sorry, like our kids also basically have commercials. They're just influencers now that are getting paid, just like, and so it's almost taking the power away from those companies because now those companies, instead of needing commercials, they need the influencers to send them free shit so that our kids will want it because they have like the YouTube or different ads or things that come up on games and things like that, and that's it's almost the same thing.
Advertising's still there. It's just
even with
format.
I will say that we definitely had better pop culture though, like for sure.
Oh,
we like, I mean, our kids will never understand like the grip that like celebrities and people, artists had on us, you know?
Yeah,
like,
dude. Well, they just boy bands. They don't exist. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, definitely. Unsupervised, a lot more
unsupervised, but also our parents had no power. We were TV kids to an extent. And so I kind of remind myself that when I'm hard on myself about like, you know, okay, are our kids being on the screen too much? We were TV kids growing up in the 90s. All of us were, especially because our parents were working. We were, I think the 90s was probably the 80s into the 90s, but truly where it was the last generation where you saw both parents were working, you know, whereas in the 60s and 70s, you would probably still have, there was divorced parents and things like that, but it was like less common to have two working parents still, whereas I feel like going into the 80s and 90s, that's when you really start to see that shift. And so we did have constant unsupervised screen time. I mean, Anthony tells stories about my mother-in-law, shout out Mama Jen, she's a shit, but like she would work as a cocktail waitress at Mandalay Bay and she was tired, and so she would take the kids to the movie theater and they would see multiple movies in a day and she would pay for it just so that she could sleep. She was still in the movie theater with them, but like sawing logs, she had to sleep. She was a single mom, you know? And so I think, and I love that because it's just so true to that time. I remember my dad like taking me to movies just because it was like a way to entertain me and he could just get a break.
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I mean, I guess, you know, things really haven't changed. I think it's more so we know like the science behind it now. We're like in the 90s we were blissfully unaware.
Yeah, and now
of,
that
like,
I'm thinking about it, like just I feel like, well, here's a good question. Do you think that kids were easier to care for in the 90s? Easier than they are now? And just when you said, oh, my dad would take me to the movies just, you know, because we're to find something to do, right? And just to kind of keep you busy and occupied. Do you think like
I don't think we were
easier?
easier. I think it was just the time. I think we were blissfully unaware.
Yeah,
Like,
because do you think kids now, when they're bored, they're more like, I'm bored. Like, what can I do? Versus, I mean, we still got bored. I mean, I would complain about being bored when I was a kid all the time. But you would just find something to do.
Whereas like now our kids don't know how to entertain themselves.
Yeah, so they kind of like linger and like, you know, like they're looking to you to like, you know, find something for them to do.
And that's a good point though. I mean, I think
do you think that it was easier to parent in a way.
I think our parents definitely had it easier to parent. I mean, than
think
we
so,
do.
too.
Like, I would say more so. I don't think maybe the kids were easier. I think the times were easier.
Yeah.
Is the best way to say it. And I think
Like just what the children, what we actually had access to versus what our kids have access to now.
But I think it's like
No,
we also, I don't know. I think that it's just we also
but
didn't know enough about mental health at that time period. I
right.
think we didn't have enough diagnoses of, like kids you didn't have
Yeah, you
all the
weren't
kids
like
on the
overly
spectrum or
sensitive taking
ADHD.
care of your kids, right? Like you weren't overly
No,
emotional,
but I
like
think it's because they didn't know any better.
yeah.
Like we have so much more science and development now about like things like, I think it is harder for
It
us
wasn't
to
because my mom
be,
didn't care.
no, not at
Certainly,
all.
like
I just
my
don't,
mom obviously did,
a
but
100%. Like I had great parents who loved me very much. Like
yeah,
I'm not, and I hate when I hear about kids who didn't have that, and like
right,
it makes me sad because I truly have talked about this before. Like my parents are both remarried, so I had 4 amazing parents. I got
right.
double blessed. And so I just don't, yeah, I don't think the kids were easier. I think it was the times. I think, that's,
Yeah, just everything was a little simpler.
yeah, I think that, we talk, about our feelings more. Like
Well,
we
definitely. I
know
mean, and like
more
the
about like
whole like
psychology and child development and,
yeah, and like
science has
lots
improved
of
and
people mental parent. I don't do that, but
no.
I'm like old school, but also like in a new way.
I
Like a
wouldn't
new
call us gentle parents. We definitely don't take shit.
yeah,
You're not
but I don't but I don't hit my kids. But I
no.
also can't say that I won't smack my son across the face when he's 16 years old if he calls me a bitch.
True that. True
I'm
that.
just saying, my mom smacked me across the face a couple times when I looked her
got
dead
you
in the
got
eyes and called
lippy.
her a bitch.
You got lippy.
And I literally I went, yeah, I deserve that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and I was old. I wasn't a
Crack in the
child.
house.
I was a teenager, old enough to be
Yeah,
smacked
but
once
it's like
across.
you literally couldn't do that now. I mean, I've seen
No,
stories where
exactly.
people like the kids will call the police on their parents for
Yeah,
even
I know.
trying
I
to.
know. I'm not saying, oh, that was the answer, but
Well, no,
I
but
can see like her reaction get it can just whoop.
But I think as parents, we
Oh,
always have to
not a
evolve.
kid.
And, as far as like discipline or even just not discipline, I was just reading something the other day online that it was talking about how, so like with Jude, the doctors told us to do the cry it out method. And now they're
Oh,
completely
yes.
changing that and saying that and to me, I'm sorry,
Like traumatizing or something for them,
which
right?
I get. And because I didn't do that with the girls. And like, there's also this like attachment between me and Jude that I feel like is different in our closeness versus like the girls. And I think that it's just like in those like early stages of like infancy, you need that bonding for both people.
Right.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Obviously, I love all my kids
think of
equally,
like
but
the sleeping. Think
yes.
of like sleeping.
Right.
No blanket. Now they can have a blanket. They can't have these little bumper pads.
Right.
They can have these bumper pads if they're
Right.
like, you can breathe through them. Like, just all of first they can only be on their back. Now they can only lay on their side. Now they can only lay on their side. Like, like everything
Right. But I think
over time, like evolves.
it evolves, but also maybe like my point of bringing that up is that maybe it's not for the best all the time. Maybe having access to too much information is why parenting was easier in the 90s because we don't need all of that. Like, I think like as humans, we've been having children since the beginning of time. And so I don't think that sometimes you just have to go back to
hundreds
the
of
basics.
years.
But
Yes. Like, do we need these fancy bassinets that rock and shake and massage your
one thing from the 90s that you wish still existed.
I wish that everybody had a landline and that kids had to memorize phone numbers. I think and maybe the argument would be if your kid has a phone, your number is going to be programmed in there. But what if something happens
My
to
kids
their
know my
phone
number.
and they don't know how to get a hold of you? You know what I
Right.
mean? I think it's so good. I still remember my mom's landline, my grandparents' line. I mean, I still know their cell phone numbers too. Like I know all of that by heart. Yeah. And you just you just went with it, right? And I just think that I don't know, I just feel like for a safety thing, it's really important to kind of know how to contact your parents if something were to happen, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, I just miss the nostalgia of having a landline. I want to see my kids sitting in the dining room on the cordless phone, like talking to their friends, and it just I don't know.
Well,
that was
bring
just
it back, Jenna. We're bringing it back.
that
Maybe
was
it might be a Wi-Fi.
I had the clueless phone. I had that phone that was like
Clear.
Yeah, I really think that just core memories come from just spending hours on the phone with my girlfriends, 3-way calls. and just
Mine is similar. I feel like if I could take one thing from the 90s, I mean, obviously, like, they still exist to an extent, just like the landline still exists to an extent, but,
yeah,
it would be, like, music, like, core like, a cassette or a
yeah.
CD player, like, a physical I mean, even a vinyl, if you wanna go back even further, I have vinyls from, like, when I was growing up, I love record players, but I think that just, like, having, like, tangible music,
Good.
tangible art, like,
Yeah, I
like
love it.
books, like things like it's like we don't
Being
have
able
that.
to look
Everything
at
is
the card that comes in the CD
yes.
album
And
and
just
look
the
at like
excitement and like having to wait for that. Like
sometimes they would have
we
the
don't have to
lyrics in
wait for
there.
anything anymore. We are training ourselves and our children for
Yeah.
instant with instant satisfaction
Satis-
and
gratification.
instant gratification. And I just it's like I think that that is so it's so messed up and I think it messes with us mentally, like not having to wait for things.
Right.
And just also, like, memorizing that entire album,
Yeah.
like,
Track
singing it with your
1, 2,
yes,
3,
yes.
like just
I would
so good.
definitely and I think, I had a client the other day that told me that their grandson, for whatever reason, he is obsessed with cassettes, and so they had to go to Chester's Electronics, and they had to find him a cassette player, and they bought him new headphones that attached to it, but then, they go to Goodwill, and they find it, and he
Mhm.
just listens to his cassettes, and I was like, "I'm bringing that back.
I love
I'm gonna have a
that.
cassette
I
player."
hear it was like, little tykes or whatever, and you could talk in it and record.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
So good.
All right, Jenna, spankings versus timeouts. What do you think?
I mean, I definitely got spankings when I was a kid. It was very rare because my mom would just say, like, if we were in public, it would be
Mhm.
like a threat, like, "Do you want to go to the bathroom?" And that's when I knew, like, it's not like she would like pull down my pants and have to like spank my bare bottom. It was just like a little,
Yeah.
like,
Shut the hell up.
yeah, like a little smack on the butt. It wasn't
Better
anything
knock it
like
off.
I was being beat, but that was like a very
I think most people know that.
normal thing. Like it wasn't,
No.
my mom did not abuse me. Like that's not how I viewed it. It was just like, "Ooh, I don't want to be spanked. That means I'm being naughty."
Well,
And
just like how we talked about how like things were, it's like that was just what you did. That it was just how you disciplined. It wasn't a
yeah,
bad thing. I mean, you weren't like. I mean,
right.
our parents had it even worse. Our parents were getting, oh,
Yeah.
go pick your switch off the tree. Like my dad tells me that story all the time. The wooden spoons,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they had it way worse. So I think we're constantly evolving. But
Dude, my
it's
friend,
not. It doesn't mean you were being beat. It was just the way
no.
we were
Yeah.
disciplined.
And
like,
timeouts, I don't really remember. I'm sure that I probably got some timeouts as a kid, but I
Yeah.
don't really remember. I was honestly like a pretty good kid. Like there was not many
Well,
times like,
you've talked a lot about your mom, and so I and not really memories like with your dad. Like when you think back to the 90s and those like core memories, do you remember more memories with your mom than you do with your dad?
yeah, because my mom only had to work part-time when my parents were together.
Oh,
And my
okay.
dad was always working. So
Right.
I was home with my mom most of the time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of memories with my dad too, but they were all like good, fun. We were doing fun things
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
right? It
It
wasn't
wasn't
just
like
like
the
a
core
normal,
parenting.
yeah, like my mom and I would just be at home. She would just be blasting Alanis Morissette and then recording me as I run around and dance and like the Partridge Family, like, like that was pretty much like what we did all the time was just listen to music and she would just record everything.
Right.
Like my whole childhood is like on a tape, which is great. It's great.
I mean, I think
That's another thing that I missed. I would bring that back in a
video
heartbeat.
recording.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like having an actual
home videos.
camcorder, home videos,
Don't
because
have
now it's like
that.
everything is so piecemeal.
Mhm.
Like with our phones, it's like, oh, a 1-minute video, a 30-second video. And it's like,
No,
okay,
you literally just
how long
recorded,
can we
like
really keep this shit? And then it gets deleted or like it's not that easy to watch. Like you can't just like pop it in and watch it on your big screen, a whole day of fun activities, it's
I've
just
started printing pictures again though.
oh yeah,
And I
I
love
have
it.
like 30,000 photos downstairs that
Yeah.
I have to put
I
into
don't
photo
care. I don't
albums.
care to make it into the photo albums. I like that my kids can have that, and I
Yeah.
like that, and they love looking at
Yes.
them.
Yes, they
I
do.
think the only thing that and I've even caught myself like a couple times. I haven't gotten any of them developed yet, but I've been buying instant cameras again. And so
Yes,
I
I have
love
them
that too because
too.
you have to wait for it. And
Yes.
we've been gifting it like the birthday party that we took the girls to.
Yes. Yeah,
That was
they
what I
open the
did.
gift.
I
Open the gift.
bought them an instant camera, and it was like a little scrapbooking kit, and I
Yes.
was like, that's like I don't know.
I love
I think
that
I
kind
don't
of
think we're
stuff.
alone though, Jenna. I think a lot of parents are starting to wake up and being like, this isn't the right way.
And I think it's all coming back, like becoming more popular now. Like, if you go to the store, a lot of times they're sold out of disposable cameras. I think that
Yeah, they have alarms on them now because people are stealing them. I had to
Yeah.
ask for somebody to.
and they're so expensive. It's like almost
They're like-
$40 for like a
The one
two-pack.
we got, the one we got was 19, so that is pretty expensive.
Well, and
but-
it's really expensive to get them developed because
I
they
know.
don't do it at
I know, they have to
Walgreens
send them
anymore.
out.
We used to go to Kmart and get our film developed. My mom was friends with the film lady.
Ugh.
Sad, sad, sad.
All right, and before we wrap up, we just want to leave you with some unnecessary comments that people like to leave on our social media. I have been the victim of most of these. I'm like starting.
That's just because your videos are viewed more. Like that one
well, no,
has
I
had,
think they're
like
more
2
like-
million views.
they're
on the
like-
one.
They're definitely like rage bait, but also like I have just decided that you're like the more likable one on our social media. They do. They like you better. They're like, oh, Jenna's the misunderstood stepmom. Chelsea's the villain. Shut up. That's not true. So yeah, we only have 3 for you today, but man, these ones
Yeah.
did not disappoint. Jenna and I were in absolute tears. Some of these, and I'll defend
So good.
myself after. Whatever, just start them out.
Love the message, but you really need a lint roller.
I'm a hairstylist, and sometimes I make those videos in between clients. Like,
But also, like the jumper that she was wearing is textured like that. It had those little like
thank you, Jenna. I got it from Costco. I got 2 of them. And the gray one is just like it, but the
Yeah,
black
they're
one is like that.
speckled. So it looks
Thank
like
you.
maybe if anything she would need a depiller, but not a lint roller.
I don't
but,
even need a
but it wasn't a
depiller.
deep.
It
It was
looks
like
like that.
speckles. Like it was supposed to look like that, but I could see if
I
you
did
looked.
have a few hairs out there. I did zoom
But there
in.
were only like 2 or 3 hairs, and I don't think that that's what people were referring to.
Oh.
It's this one here.
Oh, perfect. Okay. From Chef Tank, Mama, you need a lint roller. But also, you're right. So that's 2 people. 2 people came for me in that one.
In this one, you should write a book if you give an ex-spouse a cookie.
I didn't know if that was like reference towards me or if
Yes,
that
I
was
don't know.
reference towards Andy.
No, okay.
Because
if
I would be
you
the
give an
ex-spouse.
maybe she's
Oh, like
saying
in
like,
reference
oh,
'cause it was
because
a
you're
TikTok
letting them go away
Yeah.
for the weekend. Like,
Yes.
oh, if you give them a cookie, maybe.
Yeah, you give them a crumb, they're gonna
yeah,
want yeah.
yeah.
Okay. That
Maybe
makes
I
sense.
think that's what they're referring to.
Yeah, I don't know. We're really like, I mean, we have a really like positive group of people. We're running out of CCJs, and so maybe that's for the best. Maybe we'll
Yeah,
have
we
to
just-
say goodbye to
we just
Joan
have
at
to-
some point. But
We have to post some more because it's gonna keep coming. Are
I
you
love
kidding
it.
me? Like the trolls will never stop.
Oh.
Someone's always going to be judging us, even if they're not putting it on our social media.
All right. So as we wrap up today, we want to thank you for listening as always and just leave you with some final thoughts. I think it's important to realize that parenting evolves. Maybe things might have seemed like a easier time. Maybe our world seemed like an easier time, but I think, parenting evolves and love stays the same. And that's
Yep.
what matters.
Definitely. So, you just want to normalize doing your best with what you know. And I think that our parents did the best that they could with what they had at the time. And that's exactly what we're doing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you as always for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, tag. What else?
subscribe.
Subscribe.
So we can
Whatever.
start making money and come back next week. We are going to be discussing when co-parenting styles clash. So finding that middle ground without losing yourself.
And we are going to be recording this in a different way as well, because this is the first time where we'll be recording, but we're going to be separated. I'm going to be in Florida. And I know that it's a shocker that we trade days to some of you, but Andy and Jana and I have traded days. The girls are going to be with them for a few extra days.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about it.
All right. Love you. Bye.
Bye.